Today, I'm going to show you step by step exactly how we scaled one of our clients from zero to $1 million in less than 90 days. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Jordan. I've been blessed to work behind some of the biggest names in the info product space, from the likes of Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, Pace Morby, and many, many others. Now, this channel and our company is dedicated to taking everything we have learned over the last 8 years, scaling info products, and bring it to you in simple and scalable processes that you can implement today. So let's go ahead. We're going to dive in. I'm going to show you again exactly how we scaled this company from zero to $1 million per month in 90 days with this process. All right, so this is the exact system that we use to hit $1 million a month on this specific brand. I'm going to break down the entire thing for you guys. Now, just to start, you must have the following. You need a clearly defined sales process, which we are going to cover right now in the entire blueprint. You need clear benchmarks. So you want to be very, very clear on what you actually need to do in your funnel. So you need to make sure that your projections are already laid out for what this funnel needs to do. I'm going to explain why in a minute. Attention to detail. This was one of the number one things that almost, made this a complete unsuccessful attempt. The fourth is speed to lead, especially in this funnel and how I'm going to show you, because it's very different than your typical VSL funnel that you would be running, or webinar funnel, whatever it may be. A great script is going to help with this a ton, and then better leadership are just absolute musts in this. But if you can dial in those things and follow this process, you'll be able to hit $1 million a month as well with this specific process. So what we're essentially doing is we're running ads straight to a opt-in page. Okay. So we're not going to a VSL. We're not going to a webinar opt-in. We are going straight to an opt-in page. And once the opt-in happens, we're going to a video page. Now that video is basically a 45-minute training. Okay. Now, normally you would have like a calendar pop or a form pop after the first few minutes, after, halfway through the video. In this, we actually don't have it until like the last few minutes of the video. And very, very few people are actually going to watch that entire thing. Our goal of this is not to book appointments directly from that page. So when that happens, we obviously want to use OnceHub. If you've never used OnceHub, OnceHub is absolutely amazing. Been using it for 7+ years now. I've booked hundreds of thousands of calls through OnceHub. Okay. So, but we're basically going to have a pop on the calendar and they can book a time. Now, more than likely, they're not going to do that because they're not going to make it to the end of the video. So what we do on opt-in is we run a simple check step here. Okay. Now, if you've never heard of Simple Check, go ahead and check them out. Essentially, we are able to capture the leads data up front. So we can understand their income, we can understand their debt to income ratio, we can understand their credit score, etc. So it's going to help us just financially qualify these people right from the get-go. Now, we're still going to try to talk to everyone, but what I want to do here is essentially bucket these into 3. So we have 1, 2, and 3, okay? So ones are going to be people who have a absolute, low income, poor credit, et cetera, et cetera. And we're essentially going to send them over to remarketing and try to get them to book a call through marketing. We don't want to focus our attention of this campaign directly on those people. Now, we don't want to lose those people, so we want to make sure we send them to remarketing. Now, the second bucket is going to be people kind of in that mid tier, right? And Simple Check will allow you to decide where we send these. But the second tier is going to be here. And then the third tier is going to be your highest qualified people, okay? And essentially, we're going to talk to tier 3 before tier 2s. And I'm going to show you how. So the next step is to find or create the lead in HubSpot. So we're essentially just creating the contact in HubSpot or Close CRM, whichever one you use. If you haven't checked out Close CRM, we're Close CRM's #1 partner. We love working with Close CRM. Or if you use HubSpot, we also do a lot of HubSpot. If you have challenges or you need a sales process mapped, you have leads slipping through the cracks, poor show rates, et cetera, make sure that you schedule a time to talk with me or someone on my team. We can break down exactly what's happening, how to fix it, and let you know or point you in the right direction. We deal with Close, HubSpot, Go High Level, as well as some other CRMs that people haven't even really heard about, like Folk or Adio, et cetera. So when we come back to this, we're going to send the lead over to dialer.io, another software that if you're not using it, we actually got on dialer.io way back last year before pretty much anyone had heard about it. Right now, it's becoming quickly the industry standard. We actually do some coaching in Matt's community, essentially, on sales process specifically. But absolutely incredible software. Really helps us with number health, following FTC guidelines and TCPA guidelines, and making sure that our dial rate, our actual connection rate, is as good as possible. So we'll talk about that more in a second. I can show you what some of those metrics look like. But essentially, we're going to send the lead over to dialer.io. Now, let's just go into a dialer.io account so you can kind of visualize this, because it is very different than like Alloware if you have used Alloware. So we essentially are going to roll them into a campaign. Okay. So we see these campaigns here, and we can see we have different levels of campaign. So essentially, we are able to actually optimize for speed to lead because we're rolling them into a campaign, and then they're getting dialed in a certain order. And every new lead that comes in is going to be put to the top. So that next dial is automatically going to go to them. Okay. So we're optimizing for speed to lead, which is going to help our connection rate. And then we're also splitting those campaigns into two so that we're talking to the bucket 3, tier 3 first, and then we're talking to tier 2s. Okay. So we want to prioritize tier 3 speed to lead more than tier 2. All right. So we're going to send that lead to dialer.io. And then from there, like I said, we have our P1 list and our P2 list. That stands for priority 1, priority 2. Those are two separate campaigns. They're going to mix all those leads together. So sales reps don't even have to think about it. They just go in, they dial. They're going to talk to the right people based on how you set it up. Okay. Now, essentially, the lead is going to get dialed. Some basic targets that we want to make sure for this campaign specifically is going to be a 25% lead connection rate. Okay. Now, if we look at like this account, this is very achievable inside of dialer.io. Let's just look at like November on this account. I haven't even looked at this, but per lead right there, 26.80% contact rate. So it is 100% doable. So we want to make sure we're talking to 25% of these leads at a minimum. Okay. Next up is 90% of the leads need to be dialed in under 5 minutes. So we are optimizing for speed to lead in this campaign. As you can see, we're not trying to book a call. We're not sending them to a webinar. We're reducing all friction. It's like they opt in and we dial them, we talk to them. It's very different than a lot of other campaigns that we've run or things we've been seeing in the industry. Okay. So we are going to straight up just dial these people, and they're either going to answer or they don't answer. Pretty straightforward. If they don't answer, it's automatically going to get recycled in the dialer. Now, if you're using dialer.io, you get to set what the actual campaigns are. So you get to see the redial, the priority, and the attempts. So we can see obviously P1 on this campaign specifically is going to get redialed every 30 minutes 4 times. And then it's going to be put on ice, and then it's going to go back into the bucket on P2, right? So P2 is going to be every 60 minutes for 4 attempts. Okay. So we're pretty dial heavy on the initial part of this. And again, they're either going to answer or not answer. Now, I should have connected this guy right here because this is going to go there if they answer. Okay. Now, when they pick up, and then if they don't answer, we're going to go to marketing. We're going to send this to a marketing campaign. You'll notice we make sure to connect this to every single, like every place that a lead goes, we catch it. We catch it somehow. And that's the whole point of process mapping like this. And what we do at RevPilot is make sure that no matter where a lead ends up, there is something happening with that lead, regardless if it's remarketing, if it's a follow-up campaign, if it's manual outreach by the sales rep, et cetera, et cetera. Now, we have the triage call. And the outcome of the triage call is obviously going to be qualified, not qualified follow-up, or long-term follow-up. Okay. Let's talk about follow-up, long-term follow-up. We want to create a view. So we want to make sure we add these now. Some secret sauce behind views. And a lot of organizations don't do this. So their follow-up just sucks. There's just leads falling through the cracks. Essentially, how we think of views is we want it to be dispositioned, and then we want it to show up on this list almost magically. We think of it like a bucket. So how we build that actual list view, and let me see if I can just show you an example in like a HubSpot demo account here. Let me just pull this up for you. You can do this in Close or HubSpot. It's the same concept for both. So let's go ahead and go to HubSpot demo account, and we are just going to go to our contacts inside of here. And this is not a demo account built for like an info product, so please note that. But it's again the concept we're trying to teach here, because you can go create the view however you want using these concepts. So when we come into here, we want to create a view, and essentially, I don't know why this is loading so long, but let me add a filter here. So what we're going to do is we're going to say stage, and let's just do lead status. Normally you do a deal view, so that may be a better, actually, let's just do that for you guys. So let's come in here. So we're going to go to deal view because we had that actual call with them. It depends if it's a setter or a closer, but again, same concept. So we're going to come in here. We're going to click advanced filters. We're going to click stage, and we're going to say deal stage is any of, and then let's just use like qualified to buy. Actually, let's do contract sent. Okay. So let's say we sent a contract to this person and we need to follow up with them. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do last activity date is more than 3 days ago. Okay. So, and then we're going to do next activity date does not exist. So it's unknown, right? And the whole point of this is we're saying, hey, a contract was sent and we haven't had any contact with this person in the last 3 days. And there's no future date already assigned. The future date is to make sure that if we have an appointment scheduled in the future, that we're removing it from this list. And then last activity date is essentially every 3 days, we want to have a touch point on this lead. Now you can make that 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 10 days, whatever it is. But you want to make sure that it's set up like this so that leads come and go on this. So if we put a touch point on it, it's obviously going to disappear for 3 days and then it'll come right back. Okay. And this ensures that we remove as much creative burden as possible for the sales reps. So you're going to do the same thing for follow-up and long-term follow-up as I just showed you inside of there. Not qualified is going to enroll in a 14-day loss sequence. And this is another really cool process that we have created here at RevPilot, and it helps a ton for closed loss deals as well as not qualified, okay? So essentially what we're doing is based on the not qualified reason or the objection reason, we are going to create buckets for each of these and workflows for each of these. So an objection, for example, no serious intent. I was just curious, not really looking to do anything right now. Well, we want to play on that psychology. So I have here, they were exploring, not rejecting. They need to feel seen and inspired, not chased. The goal is to awaken their vision and connect curiosity to the sense of a purpose, okay? Now, depending on your brain or your brand, that may be a little bit different depending. So emotional triggers, we're looking at vision and possibility, identity, momentum, and curiosity, invitation to clarity. So we're going to have a 14-day cadence. We're going to send a text message. We're going to send an email, a text, an email, a text, an email over the course of 14 days. More importantly, what we want to do is add, you can see here, curiosity is the first step of every success story. And then we have most people never take action because they think they have to be certain before they start. The truth is certainty comes from movement. And then we can insert testimonials, etc., different assets inside of here, right? So if you are a SaaS company, maybe that's a product demo or a client use case, okay, that resonates with that type of objection or that type of not qualified client. So you want buckets for every single one of these. Typically for the info product space, we're going to have wrong timing is one. DIY, they're going to do it themselves. We have lack of time. We have trust in brand, so they don't trust us yet. The wrong type of business. Now, trust in brand, just to scroll up here, this is an obvious case for making sure that you provide a ton of testimonials in this sequence, okay? So obviously just for each one, DNC and ghosted, I usually send some memes and different things to make sure we get them back on, some free trainings, et cetera, okay? Now, when you do this properly, you're going to re-engage a ton of these leads. And like I said, our job at RevPilot is to make sure that no matter where a lead ends up, they're getting re-engaged, they're getting put back into the fold and back on the calendar or back into the right place inside of the organization. Make sure you don't have these gaps or else this funnel will not work for you. There's just not going to be enough lemon. There's not enough juice in the lemon to squeeze. And then we have qualified. So we're going to set that to a closer and we're going to book that in OnceHub on behalf of the customer. Again, we love OnceHub, but you can use Calendly if you want. I close whatever it may be. Okay. Now, the handoff here is going to be very, very important. And we do 3 unique things to make sure that we have the highest show rate possible. Once we implemented this, the show rate literally went from 50 to 65% in less than 7 days. Okay. So the first one is pre-call reminders. Obviously, if you don't have pre-call reminders turned on, turn them on, but they're not going to do much. We're not planning on those getting people to show up. The second is a personalized handoff. So this is literally a handshake from the closer to the setter, okay? So we are literally messaging the closer inside of Slack or text message, whatever it is, and we're sending them an audio note while we're on the phone call with the client. We're saying, hey, I just had an amazing call with so-and-so. The client can even hear this if you want to do it that way. And we're saying, here's where they're at. Here's where they want to get to. I'm scheduling them on your calendar for Thursday. I let them know that you're going to reach out, okay? Now, once they do that, we already have an automation. This is really creative right here. Okay. So we already have an automation that's been delayed for, let's say, 10 minutes that is going to fire off from the closer and reference, hey, I know you just spoke with custom field. You're going to insert the setter's name with blah, blah, blah. I have your time down for insert time. I'm curious. And then they're going to ask a question. Okay. So the goal is now to have this handoff where the setter is clearly handing off to the closer is sending a message right thereafter. And then we're having the closer begin a pre-call conversation with this prospect. So I'm curious, what was, the biggest challenge that you shared with so-and-so, whatever you want to frame that as, but it's a personalized handoff to the closer. And then the next is an AI voice note from the founder himself. Okay. And I have kind of just a breakdown of this process right here. We want to use iMessage if possible for this whole thing. If you can't do that, that's fine. You can use Alloware or whatever other thing you're using to send text messages. But essentially, when the call is booked, we're going to trigger this inside of Zapier typically. We're going to wait until the event time, and then we're going to use 11 Labs to create a voice note. Okay, so we're going to use the text to voice option. We're going to insert the desired message text into the field. So you'll see a little field that says text. You're going to type in whatever you want. Hey, this is Jordan from RevPilot. Super excited to see that you have a call with insert the, you can insert custom properties, right? Dynamic fields. So you want to insert the dynamic field into there with Mariah at blah, blah, blah. And then whatever else you want the founder to be saying, okay? Now, AI is actually going to take that text, convert it with the voice ID that you have created for the founder into their actual voice, and it's going to be custom for each person. It's going to use the person's name, the closer's name, the date and time, everything, as if he just recorded that. Okay. Now, you're going to use the update contact or deal step to add that URL to the actual profile. And then once that URL is on the profile, you're going to send that out to the prospect, whatever time before the call. Typically, we do this one about 3 hours before the call. Okay. So we want all 3 of those things happening. That's going to absolutely increase your show up rate on these calls. Now, something else that is going to happen with, and I didn't put it in here, but something else to note, I'll put a little sticky note here, is the quality of your script is also going to impact the show rate. And this is something a lot of people do not really understand when we're moving from setter to closer. The quality of that conversation with the setter is going to impact your show rate. And we talk about pre-call reminders and process all the time, but we don't really talk about how good was that conversation? Is this person actually excited to show up? Do they feel like there's value? Because we essentially are exchanging their time for some type of value that they think they're going to get from this call. And if they didn't already receive value on the setter call, then they're definitely not going to want to show up for this. Okay. So make sure that your script is very, very good. The script that we typically use is a mix of Sam Ovens' alchemic conversion script, Cole Gordon's script, and then a little bit of just what I've been doing over the last 7 years. We kind of mush it all together. But at the end of the day, it's the same framework. Where are you at? Where you want to get to? What have you tried so far? Et cetera, et cetera. Okay. You guys have seen the script. So now when the call actually happens, they're going to show up or they don't show up. If they don't show up, you need to make sure you're enrolling to a no-show sequence, and then they're either going to get rebooked, yes or no. If they get rebooked, they just go through the same process again. Okay. Now, if they show up, obviously we have our outcome. It's going to be one lost follow-up or long-term follow-up. For follow-up and long-term follow-up, you're going to use that same view that I mentioned earlier, so we can reduce the creative burden of the sales rep. We're going to get them on there. They're going to be on there and make sure that the follow-ups are actually happening. I also recommend, if you're in HubSpot, to use deal tags to show like if we have an overdue follow-up, right? So anyone that was on the list has been on the list. So maybe you're supposed to follow up with it every 3 days. You can say last activity date is more than 3 days out. And then you could put a little red deal tag on that. I'll show you real quick. If you've never used deal tags, they're one of the best things you can use to bubble up information and make it really clear in your pipeline what is actually happening. So let me go ahead and show you. If you come into pipelines, so you go to settings and then pipelines, and then you're going to go to deal tags right here, and you're going to click on manage deal tags. You're going to click add tag, and then you're going to click create from scratch, and then you're going to name the tag whatever you want. Select the color, and then you choose what pipeline. Let's just say it's a sales pipeline, and then you get to add your filters. So you're going to add whatever filter for the use of this video. I'm just going to is less than 1, for example, review tag. Now you're going to see that tag on that deal every single time that specific thing happens. If you can't find the filters inside of here, you can actually create a list, and then you can instead, for the filters here, if you edit these and delete this, you can add a filter for the list membership, or segments they call them in HubSpot now. So you can add that. Okay. Now, when we come back to this, we have 2 other options, won or lost. Now, if it's lost, we again want to enroll to that 14-day loss cadence. Now, again, a lot of people are not doing this 14-day cadence. It's essentially just a drip sequence where we're hitting them with all of the pain points, or all the things that address their pain point directly after that call. Okay. So if it's financial, if it's the trust in brand, we want to build trust in the brand. We want to start firing off, hey, I thought of you, and there's this testimonial. Okay. So if you guys do this correctly, it's a very different funnel than a lot of what we've been doing over the past 7-8 years in the info product space. Typically, again, we have like a VSL, maybe we have a speed to lead campaign on the VSL, but we're not doing like a true, just straight up opt-in, dial the opt-ins, have conversations, and set them. Okay. Now, the biggest challenge that you may run into is education. So maybe they aren't educated on you or your brand enough, especially if you're not a bigger name yet. So to do this properly, you need to make sure you get as much information in their hands as possible, and that you have a really good like follow-up sequence that we just showed you here. So again, if you do this, leave a comment on the video. Let us know how it goes. But again, we literally just, this is a brand new type of funnel. We've never really ran something specifically like this. And it's really, really cool to see how successful it has been. Our opt-in, or our cost per click and opt-ins are extremely affordable compared to something like a low ticket offer where, you might have $140 cost per acquisition, compared to, these where you can get down like $8 to $12 per opt-in. And if you're talking to 25% of those people, is pretty awesome. So I hope this video is helpful. If you guys have questions, comments, or concerns, let us know. And if you are struggling to fix your sales process, you have data that just doesn't make sense, you have a system that's just been built on top of it, it's just been workflows on top of workflows and people in there just building stuff, you have no idea what's actually happening. If you have show rate issues, if you have leads slipping through the cracks, if you have poor leadership problems, feel free to schedule a time to talk with me or someone on my team. We'll make sure that you guys are pointed in the right direction. We'll see you on the other side.